The red light of dusk flickered through the tangled branches of the forest, casting long shadows like bony fingers across the ground. A lone traveler burdened with a heavy backpack trudged along a narrow path. The crunch of dry leaves underfoot echoed in the forest's silence. Suddenly, a cold breeze stirred, bringing strange sounds. The rustle of leaves without wind, indistinct whispers, and a distant wail rising from the forest's depths. The traveler paused, heart beating faster, but shook off the unease as mere fatigue and pressed on. The darkness of twilight spread like black ink through the forest. The sun's faint light barely reached the ground, and the shadows seemed to come alive, flickering at the edges of vision. The chirping of nocturnal creatures and the distant hoot of an owl thickened the air. The traveler pulled their coat tighter, sensing something watching from the dark. Each step was laced with hesitation, as if the forest itself was breathing, waiting for the right moment. From a sudden mist that rose like a white curtain from the ground, a chilling sound emerged, a mournful wail, almost human. The traveler's ears sharpened. The sound came from nearby, somewhere among the trees. Cautiously, they veered off the main path toward the noise. Thorny branches snagged at their clothes, but they pressed on until reaching a small clearing. There, on a broken stump, sat an old man, his face haggard and tear-streaked, pointing toward them with trembling hands. The old man stared with tear-filled eyes as if pleading. His body was frail, his clothes tattered, as though he'd been wandering the forest for days. The traveler hesitated. A strange instinct urged them to flee, but pity stirred in their heart. With reluctance, they approached and took the old man's hand to help him up. He leaned weakly on their shoulders, as if all strength had drained from him. With the old man on their shoulders, the traveler continued. His weight was light, yet with each step, an odd heaviness pressed down, not from his body, but from his presence. The forest was now pitch black, lit only by the moon's faint glow. The forest sounds had changed. Distant wails morphed into stifled laughter, echoing from all directions. The traveler tried to ignore them, but their heart raced. Suddenly, the old man grew still. His faint breaths turned into a deep guttural rasp. Before the traveler could react, something cold and slimy wrapped around their waist. Looking down in horror, they saw the old man's legs were no longer human, but long, writhing tendrils, like black snakes coiling around their body. His face transformed. Skin wrinkled grotesquely, eyes gleamed with darkness, and a mouth full of sharp teeth appeared. It was the Davalpa. The traveler struggled with all their might, but the Davalpa tendrils held them like iron ropes. Every movement tightened the grip. The creature stared with glowing eyes, a sinister smile curling its lips. The forest seemed complicit. The sounds grew louder, as if invisible beings in the dark cheered for the hunt. Fear stabbed the traveler's heart like a cold dagger. Amid the terror, their mind flashed to childhood tales, stories of a creature that lured travelers with its cries, trapping them forever. Its name was the Davalpa, a monster that could only be escaped through intoxication. The memories sparked like a tiny flame in their darkened mind. They had to find a way, but how? They recalled a small bottle of strong wine in their backpack, a keepsake from another journey. With trembling hands, still bound by the tendrils, they reached for it. The creature, reveling in its prey, didn't notice. With effort, they pulled out the bottle, cold sweat dripping from their brow. They raised the bottle, the sharp scent of wine filling the air. The Davalpa's eyes locked onto it, its nose twitching. For a moment, its tendrils loosened. Carefully, they offered the bottle. The creature snatched it greedily and began to drink, dark liquid spilling from its mouth. Its eyes grew hazy, its movements sluggish. With each gulp, the beast sank deeper into intoxication. Its tendrils slackened further, and its body slumped to one side. The traveler was still in its grip, but the pressure eased. With all their strength, they wrenched free and broke away. The creature collapsed, muttering incoherent growls. Without hesitation, the traveler ran into the forest's darkness. Branches scratched their face, roots tripped their feet, but fear drove them forward. The beast's roar rose behind them, its drunkenness turning to rage. The forest seemed alive, trees blocking the path, shadows clawing like invisible hand. The heavy footsteps of the Davalpar grew closer. Its tendrils lashed at branches, cracking like whips in the air. The traveler ran, breathless, heart pounding. The moonlight, now their only guide, cast the creature's long shadow on the ground, a monstrous silhouette in pursuit. In a moment of desperation, they spotted a narrow crevice in a rock. With their last strength, they dove toward it and squeezed inside. Holding their breath, they heard the beast's snarls outside. It prowled around the rock, its tendrils scraping the stone with a horrific sound. After what felt like an eternity, the noises faded. Months passed since that fateful night, and the traveler settled in a village near the forest. Their story became a local legend, but peace never returned. Nightmares of cold tendrils and glowing eyes woke them in terror. During the day, an odd restlessness pulled them toward the forest, as if an invisible force beckoned. One day, a spirited youth arrived, asking about the forest's mysteries. The traveler's heart trembled with fear, but a voice from the forest's depths compelled them to say, "The forest is beautiful this season. Just don't get lost." The youth thanked them and ventured into the twilight, disappearing into the dark. In that moment, the traveler felt a familiar weight on their shoulders and heard a sinister laugh echo in their mind. The Davalpar curse hadn't released them. It had turned them into a harbinger of darkness, doomed to lure others to a grim fate. The traveler's shadow quivered beneath blood-red moonlight, but the Davalpar's curse never let go. In the night's silence, its invisible seam-like tendrils whispered in their mind, and every stranger arriving in the village felt their gaze drawn to the forest. One night in the cracked mirror of their hut, they saw a face, not their own, but a shadow with glowing eyes. The Davalpar had merged with them, and now every word, every glance, was a lure for the next victim. But in the darkness, were they still the traveler, or had they become the Davalpar itself?